This might not look like the most exciting place to start a video, but this is not your average sign, trust me, because if we look a little bit closer, we'll see in the very weathered surface that some of the destinations here are written in two languages. Firstly, for English-speaking visitors, and then again for Japanese tourists. Now that's something that's not too common in the dense moorland of northern England, but some of you will already know exactly where we are. But if you're not sure and you've no idea, don't worry, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. Right now, we're in what's commonly referred to as Brontë country, home of the Brontë Sisters, world-renowned authors, creators of literary classics like Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. And today we're on a very special journey because we're actually going to go and pay a visit to the house they grew up in, where they did much of their writing. We've got a short walk ahead first through the Brontes' old stomping ground, through the moorland, so I can tell you a little bit about their story as we make our way to the Brontë Parsonage. Now the Brontë Sisters are a collection of three sisters who, as we can see from that signpost, captured the imaginations of people around the world. I should add they were the three surviving sisters. They grew up in the first half of the 1800s, and life expectancy then was not too great. And that's especially true in the village of Haworth, where they were living. I've actually been to Haworth before to cover a little bit of that story, and to cut it down into its highlights, like many parts of the country and the world back then, they had a little bit of a problem with sanitation. And one of the major issues they had was that they'd overpacked their graveyard, one consequence of these high mortality rates. And it meant, unfortunately, that the graveyard was contaminating the drinking water. And I'm sure you can fill in the rest of the gaps yourself. Now, there are so many different ways to approach the story of the Brontë sisters, and the whole family, in fact. They were born in West Yorkshire, grew up in Haworth, where we're heading to right now. And between them, to say that they were creative and highly intelligent would be a bit of an understatement. I'll be honest, I've got a real urge to climb the top of that hill and show you the views. Should we do it? I'm pretty sure there's a path up the side. Now, the three sisters were first published in 1846 with a collection of poems. And they made the decision at this point to publish under different names, under pseudonyms, because they believed at the time, and I wouldn't dispute it, that they would be the victims of prejudice if they were to publish under their original female names. Okay, pretty good views. Now, the original names of these three sisters, Charlotte, Emily and Anne. But the names they used when publishing these poems was Currer, Ellis and Acton Bell. Now, the poems themselves weren't particularly well received. From the accounts I've read, that's being somewhat kind, but it didn't stop them, because only a year later, the three sisters released one novel each. Agnes Grey by Anne Brontë, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, and probably most famous of all, Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. Now, safe to say, these novels were received much more positively. This was not part of the plan, by the way, whatever this is, but we're walking in that direction anyway, so we might as well check it out. Now, things were looking good for the Brontë sisters at this time. Their writing was getting recognised, but the dangers of the time period they were living in were unfortunately about to catch up with them. Because whilst the novels were released in 1847, in the following 2 years, Emily, Anne and Branwell, the brother, all sadly passed away. Certainly not helped by the unsanitary conditions in Haworth at the time. This kind of looks like it was stone from far away, but now it looks like almost like wool. Now it says here, Tower explores the building blocks of the quarries on Penistone Hill and their relationship to the building of Bradford. The 10-metre tower is clad in the raw fleece of local sheep breeds, Derbyshire gritstone and lonk, sourced from local farms and inspired by the role of sheep in shaping the surrounding landscape and by the importance of wool in the industrial history of Bradford. Okay, interesting. Bradford, at one point, wool capital of the world, so it's a fitting choice. It's so strange up close, and everything's just kind of flying off, which is a little strange. What do you think? Do you like it? Do you like these kind of sculptures? I think I do like this. It looks interesting from a distance, and it does kind of fit into the landscape. And it's definitely unique. It gets a thumbs up from me, but I could see it being a little bit controversial, maybe not liked by some people. Let me know what you think though. Okay, back to the Brontes, and unfortunately, by 1850, Charlotte was the only sibling remaining. Her father Patrick's still alive. He actually lived into his 80s, but her mother already passed away earlier in 1821. Now, to add a little bit more context to the moorland here and the footpath signs we saw earlier, there is a huge walking path in the local area called the Brontë Way. It's 43 miles in total, and it passes through a number of areas believed to be inspirations and settings for the Brontes' novels. And if you've ever been to Haworth, you've probably seen the tour buses turning up, the truckloads of visitors piling in to the museum, heading out into the moors, and the signs here to stop them getting lost, basically. Because I'm sure you can imagine, if you're new to the area, you're not familiar with this terrain, you could easily find yourself lost, no idea where you are or how to get back. Now, as much as I'd love to explore and show you more of this moorland, more of the inspirations for the Brontes' novels, I recently got in touch with the Brontë Parsonage Museum to ask if maybe we could come and have a look around. And they were very kind and they said yes. So we've got an appointment to get to. So we're going to head over that way now towards the Brontë Parsonage and spend a little bit of time in the same space where the Brontes grew up. Maybe one last quick little detour though, because I had no idea that this was here. So let's scramble down this hill. We'll have a quick look at these butterflies, I think they are, and then we'll make our way down. Of course, feel free to skip ahead if you're just here for the Brontes, that's fine. Now, I think this is part of the same exhibition that tower was that we saw a moment ago. Unfortunately, though, I don't know much more than that. I'm sorry. It's really fun just discovering it by chance, to be honest. Ooh, they are solid as well. Okay, let's get over to the Brontë Parsonage before we're late.
Yeah, so it's all based off of description and drawings as well. Most of the furniture as well is original, belonged to the family. The main one is the dining room table, because this is where the sisters wrote all their novels. So they wrote everything in this room. So this is kind of the special room. And the table only came back 10 years ago. So in terms of some of the collection items, it's like relatively new. And
where did it go then? Where did it end up?
So after Patrick, the father, died, all of the furniture got auctioned off locally in the village, and people just bought the furniture. They knew that by that time the Brontes already were quite famous and people wanted things that belonged to them. So a family bought it, and then it got passed down and stayed within the family for a couple of generations.
So there are still some items somewhere out there that would be from here?
That'll be in like private collections and stuff. The nice thing about the table, well, there's like a tiny carving of a letter E there, which we like to think Emily might have done, but obviously we don't know. They were known to like walk around the table reading their passages to each other, and it was a very collaborative thing, their writing. So this is Patrick's study. So the father, who was the reverend at the church opposite, and so this is where he would have spent most of his time writing sermons, and also he did teach the children as well in here. So there's quite a few of his belongings.
Have I got my dates right? The three of them released novels within the same year.
Yeah.
And then within the space of 2 years, Emily and Anne passed away.
Yeah.
So it was all pretty fast.
Yeah, it was. So like that's why Charlotte saw more fame than the two sisters, because they didn't really live long enough. So they were all published in 1847, and then Emily died in December 1848, and then Anne in May 1849. So within a year, Charlotte lost all three of them, which couldn't have been easy. And you see that in like her books after that. So like what she writes about after that, you can tell that she's quite depressed. And
kind of comes through in the writing.
Yeah, I think it's in Shirley, which is the book she released afterwards, and you can tell halfway through when her siblings have passed away because the tone kind of changes and she changes some of the story in it.
I think I actually forgot to mention earlier, but it was Charlotte who eventually uncovered the real names and identities of the sisters, right?
Yeah.
After Emily and Anne died, was it?
Yeah, so I don't think she really wanted to let go of the pseudonyms, but people, because she was spending more time in London in these literary circles, people kind of found out who she was, and people a lot of the time thought she was Jane Eyre, like that's kind of how they kind of saw her, and I think she kind of liked the gap between this Brontë persona and her actual self, because she was quite shy really, and so he painted a pillar over the top of his portrait, and then a visitor in the National Portrait Gallery noticed, like this was years later, that they thought they could see someone in the figure, and as time's gone on the paint's just kind of become more transparent and so it's kind of like a ghostly figure in the back now. People like to say he was ashamed of himself, but I think it's more likely that the composition would have been too cramped with 4 people in, and it would have been kind of squished, and so he decided to take himself out of it.
Yeah.
So this room has a lot of Charlotte's stuff in. This is Charlotte's writing desk, which is probably one of my favourite objects in the collection, because it's obviously where she wrote her novels and her letters, but also like all of these items with it were found in her writing desk. So it's kind of been preserved exactly how she left it. So this is like, it would fold over and be like a box, and you could just take it anywhere with you. Oh
yeah, where the hinges are.
Yeah. So it folded. So they're called like lap desks or like folding desks, and
so you just carry it around like a briefcase.
Yeah, and then kind of. Yeah, or you could just put it in your trunk if you were going away somewhere. So they were like portable, and it's kind of like
that's cool.
the equivalent of a laptop. Basically.
Yeah, true. Actually,
you just have all your stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
I could see myself sitting with one of those upon the moors.
Yeah.
Not writing anything of this calibre, but just scribbling something down.
Yeah, they are nice. I think there's always something nice about like material objects rather than digital things, I think, now.
Why do you think Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights particularly went on to be the most well-known?
I think because they're crazy.
Yeah,
like,
they stand out more.
They just, and I think it's the supernatural elements in the book that really make them stand out. I think a lot of people see them as romances, but I think they're definitely more gothic novels. But I think it's like all the twists and stuff. I think it was so shocking at the time. People couldn't believe that someone would write this. And then there's lots of speculation over like their gender and whether they were men or women writing. And I think they were like, well, some of these things only a woman would be able to write about, like from Jane Eyre's perspective. But then also it's like, how has a woman written this? Because women weren't expected to write things, novels like that at that time.
These Charlotte's paintings?
Yeah, these were watercolours by Charlotte, and that's her art box as well with the paints in. And this is Branwell's studio. So it's all a recreation, so none of this is originally belonging to the family. It was inspired by the BBC film To Walk Invisible by Sally Wainwright. So a lot of the items in here are props and costume from the film. It's described as being chaotic, which it kind of is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice because it's not as perfectly laid out as some of the other rooms, so it feels more like...
More lived in. Yeah,
lived in and authentic, I guess.
Okay, there we go. Got something to show you. I want to give a huge thank you to the team at the Brontë Parsonage Museum and to Mia for taking time out of her day to show us around and share all that knowledge with us. You can find their opening hours on their website, Google Maps, social media, anywhere you like. And they're also running a ton of interesting events throughout the year. Now, we've been talking on this channel for a while about doing an international giveaway. So, to be honest with you, it's taken me a while to figure out the best way to do it, and in a way that doesn't breach YouTube terms, because they're quite strict on their policy with this. You can't offer a giveaway in exchange for subscriptions, for comments, anything that could be considered a trade or a lottery. Have at least got the prize. So we have got Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. It's probably the wrong angle to really get the shininess, but it's got really nice gold detail on the whole of the cover, front and back. Not only that, look at this paper. I kind of want this for myself, but I'm not going to keep it. There are so many different editions and print copies of these books, but this is the nicest one I've seen. So hopefully it's going to make a good gift for one of you. And you don't need to be in England to win this either. And one nice detail that they added in, if you ever buy a book from the Parsonage Museum, it can be stamped so that you know that it's been purchased within the Brontë Parsonage. So there we go, stamp of authenticity. If you do want to win this, don't worry, I'm going to share all the information on the channel as soon as I know exactly how it's going to work. So you'll have plenty of time to get involved. There's not going to be any chance of missing if you do want to enter. And at some point, one of you will be getting this delivered through your door, which I'm excited about as well. So that's going to be it from our journey to Haworth today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the trip, maybe learned a little bit about the Brontes. Please do let us know in the comments if you've got more information to share or you've got questions. I'll do my best to answer them. If you do want to visit the parsonage, it's an easy yes to recommend from me. No sponsorship in this video. In fact, it was them doing me a huge favour, letting me come and visit and film. But it's such a cool place, so many interesting things there, and all the team are really nice and friendly. Now I need to figure out how to get out of here, how to leave the moors and make my way home and start planning the next video. So fingers crossed, I'll see you there.